Hi, and welcome to Module 2, Section 2 of the Science portion of PAO instruction. This section is about using a framework for K-12 science education in Montana. Our goals for this section is for participants to be exposed to information about the development of the framework. Some participants may already know a lot about the framework, but we encourage you to listen through this video just in case there's some additional information. And those of you who don't have a lot of experience with the framework, this video will give you an opportunity to learn more about how it was developed and what the intentions of the framework are. The second goal is to understand the fundamental organization and intent of the framework. And the third is to be able to articulate the benefits of using the framework for our alignment in this course. So a big question is, why a framework? The framework itself provides guidelines for accomplishing the first of two major goals for K-12 science education. And that first goal is educating all students in science and engineering. The second listed goal for K-12 science education is providing the foundational knowledge for those who will become scientists, engineers, technologists, and technicians of the future. So why would I include the second one if the focus of the framework is the first? Mostly because this is a key issue in understanding standards and a framework like this in general. This framework is for all students. This is what everyone should know to be scientifically literate. The framework is designed to help realize a vision for education in the sciences and engineering in which students over multiple years of school actively engage in scientific and engineering practices, apply cross-cutting concepts to deepen their understanding of core ideas in these fields. In thinking about what document we would use for this alignment project, I spent a lot of time reflecting on why they created this framework. One of the things I found helpful was to look at the stated goals in the committee charge. So these are the goals that the committee themselves worked from. Goal 1, identify a small set of core ideas in each of the major disciplines, as well as those that cut across disciplines. Goal 2, develop guidance on implementation. Goal 3, articulate how the ideas intersect for at least 3 grade levels. Goal 4, create examples of performance expectations. Goal 5, discuss implications for goals for science education like science literacy, college preparation, workforce readiness, and develop research and development plan to inform revisions. To me, those goals speak to the long-term vision of this work. And it's this long-term vision that ultimately helped me decide to use this document for our alignment work instead of our 2006 Montana Science Standards. The authors of the framework, during the course of their work, generated a list of guiding principles that they feel are interwoven into the framework itself. These principles are based on research and theory and provide the foundation for the recommendations that the framework makes about how to achieve meaningful science learning. The guiding principles to the framework are drawn from what is known about the nature of learning science, and these principles underlie both the structure and the content of the framework, and we'll go through each principle separately. Children are born investigators. Students entering kindergarten have very sophisticated ways of thinking about the world based on their experiences with the world around them. In our family, we've always joked that our kids were learning about gravity when they dropped things from their high chair over and over again. But in reality, it's not a joke. From very early in their lives, children are observing the world around them, learning from small, natural investigations. Children may not have deep knowledge or extensive experience, but they do have complex reasoning and their own ideas about what they see, and that's an important principle to understand as we take on our jobs as science instructors. Principle number 2, focusing on core ideas and practices. By focusing on a limited set of core ideas, students are less likely to experience coverage of multiple disconnected topics. Often we talk about a mile-wide and inch-deep curriculum. By focusing on a limited set of core ideas and practices, students are able to experience deep exploration of important concepts and time to not only meaningfully understand, but also to actually practice science and engineering and reflect on their nature. It also allows for a more coherent view of science education across K-12. Principle 3, understanding develops over time. The framework uses learning progressions to address the need to develop a thorough understanding of scientific explanations of the world through sustained opportunities to work with and develop the underlying ideas over a period of years. This provides students a kind of map to mastery of the content and help teachers to better conceptualize how to address and present topics at different grade levels so they can build on prior understanding, support increasingly sophisticated learning, and allow for developmentally appropriate interaction with the content and the practices. Principle 4, science and engineering require both knowledge and practice. While the knowledge of science is often specific to the individual disciplines, the practices of science are not only essential but shared across disciplines. It's vital that students are receiving exposure to both knowledge and practice. Engineering has a similar situation. There can be a wide range of knowledge required of engineers. However, there's a key set of practices that all engineers engage in while doing their work. Number 5 is connecting to students' interests and experiences. In order for students to develop a sustained attraction to science and for them to appreciate the many ways in which it is pertinent to their daily lives, classroom learning experiences in science need to connect with their own interests and experiences. In order to support teachers as they build on prior interests, the disciplinary core ideas identified in the framework are derived not only with an eye towards the knowledge that students bring with them, but also towards the kinds of questions they're likely to pose themselves at different ages. Framing the curriculum around such sets of questions helps to communicate relevance to the student. Number 6, the final one, is promoting equity. Equity in science education requires that all students are provided with equitable opportunities to learn science and become engaged in science and engineering practices. Access to quality space, equipment, and teachers to motivate learning and engagement is key, as well as adequate time spent on science. In addition to this, it's important to connect to the interests of all students, including those from diverse cultural communities. The difference between the exposure, prior knowledge, and interests of rural and urban students can be immense. Based on the guiding principles, the framework was created with 3 dimensions. These dimensions broadly outline the knowledge and practices of the sciences and engineering that all students should learn by the end of high school. The 3 dimensions are the disciplinary core ideas, or the content of science, the science and engineering practices, the practice of science, and the cross-cutting concepts, those principles that underline all of science, like cause and effect. While the framework separates these dimensions into chapters in order to facilitate student learning, the dimensions must be woven together in standards, curricula, instruction, and assessments. As you make your alignment judgments for the NAEP items, it's important to notice which dimensions the item is actually assessing. In order to do this, when you do your alignment, you will separately address each of the 3 dimensions. To make this easier for you, we're presenting this information in this module in a way so that each dimension has its own video and its own PDF reference document so that you can easily go back to just exactly the section that you're looking for. I kind of want to end with this quote. Ultimately, the interactions between teachers and students in individual classrooms are the determining factor in whether students learn science successfully. Thus, teachers are the linchpin in any effort to change K-12 science education. And this quote is why I feel like a course like this is so important. If teachers are the linchpin to the success of students, then providing teachers with a solid foundation in the framework and how it relates to all aspects of instruction, including assessment, will help us to get off on the right foot.